At last.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, good morning. How are you doing?
Remember how I got here? You don't even want to know. It's like take the link from here into that browser.
Was it like a magical mystery ride first thing this morning, was it?
It was like one of those, one of those. Like it was one of these resilient things, like I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it
Yeah.
into this.
I am going to be on this morning. I will. After the other day there, this is going to happen. This is happening.
It's all okay, right? So you hear me fine, you see me fine. Well, amazing.
I know.
I upgraded to 2025, maybe.
I love that. Well, so Eva and myself, we had a bit of an issue the other day because we were supposed to record it. Was it yesterday morning? Yes,
Yeah.
yesterday morning, and it just wasn't working for us. It just wasn't happening. So we were like, right, let's revisit this podcast. We'll come back to it and we'll do it another day.
It was good to wait, actually.
Well, exactly. Everything in divine timing and all that.
Exactly.
And I see that you're wearing your t-shirt.
Oh, yes, I'm wearing one of my t-shirts. This is supposed to be a size 8. I mean, it's supposed to be oversized, but, I'm kind of like comfy on me. Like, this is one of them. Yeah, this is from my t-shirt shop.
Amazing. I love that.
Do you want to know how this...
Yeah, tell us a little bit about, yeah.
I would have a cabbage on my t-shirt, So basically, I did this artist residency, like, when was it? 2022 in Bristol. And it was like one of these ones where I could like exhibit and perform and mix everything together, that's where I get excited, when you turn a gallery into a performance art space and audience in the midst of all of it and stuff. And it was called Boundlessness for Breakfast.
Okay. I like that. That's quite fun.
I had like this little script flying around, that I wrote years before that. I thought that would be an interesting performance piece. And then basically I suddenly remembered that with this artist residency, and I was like, why are we not going to do Boundlessness for Breakfast now?
Yeah.
And then basically I told my friends it's going to be Boundlessness for Breakfast. And one of them said to me, yes, I will be coming for breakfast. And then I thought, oh.
You're not having a class on,
We need some sort of set, I can't just have images and that theme. We need some sort of set with a table and a sort of, some sort of breakfast scene, and there needs to be something, but it also needs to have to do with boundlessness. Yeah. So it couldn't be just like baked beans or something,
Yeah, that's it. Your standard baked beans and toast. Me too.
I've been looking basically, I like looking at nature, like go wow
Yeah.
a lot. And there was this one time I cut this red cabbage, and I just cut it in half, and I looked at it, and I was just like, oh my goodness. How can that even, we don't even know how that can be. We just cut it up, put it on.
It's all intertwined and stuff, yeah.
But it's just like, it's so profoundly incomprehensible how this plant can have that, that intelligence to create this. Where is this coming from? It's just unbelievable. So I was totally in awe. This cabbage basically transported me to infinity. So I basically decided we need to have red cabbage for breakfast, and I just printed out the red cabbage. And we had it on the plates, and we were we're doing sort of quite experimental stuff with it symbolically, which was really fun. And this was like a prop, which was like a wooden circular. Sorry, I've got a bit of a wildlife scene here with the birds.
I know, I love that your birds are like, morning, morning, we're here.
In the picture at the moment.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was a prop, and it was one of these spinny things, you can actually, it's hanging up there.
Let's see.
It's just
Oh,
the
amazing. Yes, yes.
prop, and that became part of the performance piece, you know.
Yeah.
And we were spinning it and asking the question, how mysterious is life? And now we felt like, t-shirts would be kind of cool, you know.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that it's got such a profound story behind it as well, and how you've thought about, doing that prop and then twisting it and asking really like mind altering questions, really,
Yeah.
And when was it that you done that performance then? When was that?
So it was about 2 years ago. I think it was 2022. I'm not very good with my linear remembering.
Yeah, yeah. A couple of years ago. Yeah, yeah.
22, and it was really lovely. We had there's a bit on my website where you can look it up. We made a video from the live performance. At the time, I ended up collaborating with two friends who have also been studying embodiment as one heart with me, and it was so much fun to develop the performance together.
And had you thought about bringing out like branding and t-shirts? Had that been a thought, or was that something that just came to you after you had basically been looking at the cabbage one day? Like, how did that inspiration, did you say, this is like, I want to get this inspiration and this creativity and my message over to the world? What was it that
Yeah,
sparked
interesting.
that creation?
Yeah. So I've always been like doing visual art, right? But I've never been like too keen to like exhibit or sell art in that sort of serious sense, because it's always a bit like too like
Yeah,
it's a bit too uptight, usually that sort of world can be a bit like,
yeah,
this
you want your freedom flow. Yeah, yeah.
just be this wild create. If I hang something anywhere, then I want it to become this wild creative consideration at the same time. Then I get excited, but just hanging pictures somewhere for selling them and stuff is just not, so I will actually sell art prints soon too. But then I will just sell them online, so people can just buy them. And if there is ever opportunities where I can exhibit and perform and create a whole, I want it to become a whole immersive experience for people. So it's
Experience.
not the art. But the t-shirt shop, basically, I can't remember how I suddenly got the idea, but I was just suddenly realizing how much fun it is to print art on clothing and how you become like the walking art gallery.
Yeah,
How you
yes,
take the art everywhere and how it loses that sense of seriousness, about this is an art work. It can be
yes. I love
amazing art,
that.
but also it's just like it's just supporting your art. It's just uplifting you. It is there for something.
I love that. I love how you said that, because it's so true, because it's art, but you're carrying your art with you every day, and it's a message, it's showing a message. Whereas art is, you go to the gallery and you admire it and then you move on to something else, where this is something that you've created that can be, and it must be really cool figuring out how to work with materials and putting all the ideas together and get it all printed and stuff.
Yeah, it's been really exciting because I have like a whole attic full of old artwork at my mum's house. It was like amazing. I'm really bad at bookkeeping anything. I lose everything. I just throw it around. I don't really care. Go, oh, it would be so good if I kept this video. And then luckily a friend of mine somewhere was better at art.
Kept it.
Do you still have that? I mean, actually, in the context of all my life, it's actually really quite good to have that. But I was not really brilliant at this. But my mum was. So, and because I've always been painting and drawing, there is a lot of artwork I've done like when I was a teenager. And it was really interesting in hindsight to see that I've been working with these topics of separation and oneness all my life. But I didn't really understand that until I saw my own old art, because I was, oh wow, I was really exploring separation here. Oh wow, really exploring oneness there, you know, and I wasn't really conscious of that being my life theme at the time. So that's
That must have been really cool, because I suppose in a way when you were thinking about when you really went into this, like, you know, realizing that we are all one in this oneness and looking at that, but then revisiting the younger you, looking at your expression through art, and then being able to go, oh wow, I had this awareness all along. I just hadn't fully tapped into that. That must have
yeah.
been really cool.
So now I basically took digital photographs of some of this artwork, and I now made it into designs. I make those into designs for the t-shirt shop. And that is so exciting, you know, to see that suddenly these images, and a lot of them, I literally still remember painting them
Wow.
now, because they had such a powerful effect on me painting them, you know, that the feeling, I remember that feeling quality I was entering when I was painting it, which is so interesting, isn't it? I have the memory of it now, but at the time I wouldn't have understood it as something, you know, I wouldn't have consciously thought about it at all.
Yeah.
But literally, I literally remember every painting I use, every image I use, I literally remember
The
the
journey and the feeling.
it was painted and the quality, and so it feels really, really precious to me to have those now and to be able to turn them into something, and to you know, I couldn't have possibly known at 17 that with like 53 I'm gonna I'm gonna do something with all these things.
I love that. I
So
love that.
I'm so grateful to my mom that she kept it all. You know, she was moving house with all this stuff twice, you know, and she was just like, no, I'm hanging on to this. This is good stuff.
It was kept for a reason. It was kept for a reason, because now the 17-year-old artist of freedom, of oneness, of the way that you now live your life, it's the journey then is now on artwork and t-shirts and different things you're going to be displaying now, and it's got a memory to it. That's freaking awesome. That's so cool. So cool. And so tell us, like, I'd love to know, because obviously I know a little bit about, because we've chatted, but because you pull together like creation, dancing, you know, you've been out in the woods recently foraging, and you met somebody that you ended up doing a film with. So just explain a little bit about your journey of getting to where you are now with this connection and oneness and going out and foraging, because you were telling me about the onion on my chest and stuff as well, because I've had this bit of a funny throat as you can hear now and again, it keeps going. So I love everything. I love the way you think and the way you just look at life now. It's so interesting. So just, yeah, tell us a little bit about that journey for you.
Wow, yeah, that's a big question. I need to.
Sorry, not the little ones. The oneness, the whole question.
The podcast is finished. Let me just figure what's the most important thing to share about that right now. Yeah, wow. So yeah, it's been interesting because I've always been driven by something, and I've always been driven by something. And I again, it was something that happened when I was a teenager, where someone asked me once, "What do you want to be when you're grown up?" Right?
Yeah,
And
a big
I was
question.
brought up in a Christian Protestant priest household. So the Christian language was the only language I knew to do with spirituality at the time, right? And so the words that came out of my mouth were not rehearsed or planned, or I didn't think about them. Yeah. So what came out was in German, of course, at the time. Translated, it would be, "My work hasn't been invented yet. I am going to be a tool of the divine anyway." And I was like, "Excuse me, you know what?
Oh, whoa.
What are you talking about?" You know, it was literally like, it just came through me, and it felt like I was like suddenly in this instant, I was accessing as if I was accessing my future self, or my future self was accessing me to tell me in that version what I needed to know
Yeah.
to find my path.
Yeah.
You know, and it seemed like completely like insane. And so again, it was something that I've never forgotten, because like, you don't forget when you've said something like this without really knowing what on earth, where on earth it came from, right? So that happened, and then basically at some point I developed a really keen spiritual interest in, you know, I met people who had more sort of knowledge about other ways of spirituality, so I got more and more curious and explored more. And when I ended up studying in Brighton University, the whole theme of what is the meaning of life was huge in my university degree. So I studied dance and visual practice, but basically I ended up writing my dissertation on the oneness of being.
Oh,
And my professor at the time, she thought, oh, the dance tutors, they're not going to get what she's talking about. We can't let her grade that. You know, she didn't want me to be graded by one of the dance teachers. So she found me a professor of philosophy who was going to specifically mark my dissertation.
oh wow.
That was super nice of her, you know, because
That's an
otherwise,
amazing shift. Yeah, to get the right perspective from that. Yeah.
so I met with this lovely professor and regularly, and we were having these nice conversations about my dissertation, and so I went along with that, and that I'm so grateful for that, you know, because I am like very philosophical. And it's funny because sometimes when you're an artist and a dancer, and especially when you're such a clown like I am,
Carefree.
people don't expect that. You know, they don't expect me to have this other side that is just like deeply
Deep.
philosophical.
Yeah.
And so it's like, but how do you mean? You're just like this clowning, funny, arty, you know, whatever. But yeah, there's different parts to that. And so one of the main crucial occurrences in my life that catapulted me very much into my purpose was when I met the spiritual teacher Adida Samraj. And I was just invited to see him as a contact person. So I was just a public person who was invited to see him. And I had always been really, as soon as I heard about him, I was very fascinated about his teaching, because his teaching is very much like there is no separate self, there's none.
Yeah.
You know, and he was very much into he didn't want people to believe things, you know, he wasn't looking for followers. He was looking for people who actually want to find that out, that is true. Right? So it was never about beliefs. And I had situations where I was reading his teaching, and the way he writes, you can either get like really separate and then you find it all outraging and horrible, you know, and you think he's a crazy, horrible person, you know. You're like, what on earth is he thinking? What on earth, who do you think he is, you know? But when you let it in, yeah, when you let it into your body, and when you're actually feeling what he's saying, then suddenly there's no teacher, there's no teaching, there is no one to be taught. There is just, you know, and it just all melts away. So I found that very fascinating.
Fascinating. Yeah, that would have been like, wait a minute, whoa.
Well, I was very keen to see him. I have had beautiful experience with other living spiritual beings. But Adida was definitely, yeah, I was very, very excited about the invitation. You know, that's really cool. And so when I went with a friend at the time, and there was literally something called darshan, which is like a silent sitting. So the teacher just sits on a chair in front of people, and he just transmits energy, basically, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So I was sitting there, and it was like there was a big open door at the back of the room. So when we saw him coming across the grass, and the first time I saw him, I instantly felt like completely like shaken, and my heart was instantly opening because I felt like this person had no self-protection.
Wow.
You know how there was just unbelievable raw openness and
Like there
vulnerability.
was no ego there or something.
There was
Mhm.
because everyone has some sort of,
Yeah.
like, hi,
Yeah, going around with the egos. Yeah, that's it. Yes.
it
Yeah.
was there was
Pure.
it was so raw, and that there was such a rawness and vulnerability in it. I've never experienced anything like it, And then he walked past us to his seat, and he basically was walking like a fierce, like a lion. So it was just like first that, and then like, oh, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah. I am here. I am here.
no. And when he sat down, I mean, he was at that time still having eye contact with people in the room a lot, So he was like literally sending. It was literally just like, it's like laser beams without laser, like zoom, to the room. And so for me, because I always was a very vision-based person, I can have like crazy visions all the time. It's quite normal for me, So for me, the room turned completely golden very quickly, and he was, and I couldn't take my eyes off him. There was this radiant energy around him that I could visibly see, like really bright.
Wow.
And then when I came up to his seat, he looked me straight in the eye. He suddenly turned to me and looked me straight in the eyes, right? But he didn't just look at me. It wasn't like that. Was not someone who
Looking
looked at
through you, like
that was someone who just went like right
into your soul.
right into I was, and he wasn't stopping looking, So we were basically locked eye to eye, and I saw in that moment, like, and I can't describe it because it was literally as if you see it with the eyes. It's literally as if you see it physically, but it's not quite like physical sight. I don't know if you know that sort of experience, but it was like this absolutely intense, bright white light that was literally coming from infinitely above, like all through his body, all the way down into the earth, and then it would be like basically just crashing into my eyes and right into all of my body. It was literally, I could feel it filling me up, and it wasn't like a cute, nice sort of like, oh, I'm so, it wasn't like, it was
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm such a holy knight. It was none of that, it was just like, what the fuck?
That is
like,
crazy.
So it was it was nothing I have ever experienced in terms of any form of spiritual blessing, or when I feel there was energy transmission, I have been aware of that in many teachers, but this
Yeah.
was like,
This was like full freaking force, like hello, energy, divine. It's here, like channeling it right into you. Wow. Bet you were like, well, I wasn't expecting that this morning.
I was not. This is like, you cannot. This is what I could have never foreseen that, And it was literally like it swallows you. It burns you out. It melts you. It was such an intense thing. And basically, I had to, in the end, I had to break the gates. I was like, he was still doing this, and I was like, I don't know if I would have died.
Yeah. You're like, I don't know where this is going to go.
No, but yeah. So
Yeah, that must have been intense. Like somebody
I
looking, yeah.
smashed into the floor, right? I was just lying there, and honestly, my whole body felt so melted that I felt like as if like the floorboards were closing over me. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. It's not an exaggeration. It's literally how I felt. Yeah. So I was
Oh,
sinking into the ground, and I don't know how I got back to my seat, how I got back to like, oh, here, your name is Eva, and all of this. I don't know how, but somehow it does happen. And
It's like, what? Wow.
And so it was just like insane, you know, in terms of, it's like you just don't have, this is just not what you expect is even possible, right? All my ideas of enlightenment I had, I was just like, I was always believing like enlightenment is this thing where you suddenly just go bing and then everything falls off you and you're free and you're happy and you're
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. All of a sudden you say, I'm going to be enlightened and you're enlightened. Yeah. It's not quite. Yeah.
You suddenly want to be perfect, don't you? It's hilarious. This was not in my vocabulary, right? This sort of event. And when I came home from that, I had I was obviously completely like, honest, am I gonna like the word integrating wasn't really in our vocabulary in these days, but how am I ever gonna integrate that? You know, how I'm gonna make sense, how I'm gonna live my life after that.
Yeah. Yeah. That profound experience.
2 days later, roughly or something, I was just walking around the kitchen and suddenly I was just, why is my computer banging? It's my computer's making sounds, isn't it?
It's okay. It's okay.
The problem? Is this my, wait, maybe I
It just,
can,
you'll probably just be getting notifications through on the computer, but it's
I mean,
fine. It might dull it out. It might dull it out when I transfer the recording. Oh, one of your wee birds just go. Oh my god, that's amazing! Hello, what's your bird's name? Landed on your head.
this one is called Peekaboo.
Peekaboo.
Yeah.
Oh,
I,
peekaboo. That's
he, was,
amazing.
he actually was called Rumbo when I got him. I adopted him from the family. It was really sad that they had to give him up. But he says peekaboo all the time, so I ended up calling him Peekaboo.
Peekaboo. That's amazing. You can just like all of a sudden he just was like, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
so you were saying, don't worry about the notifications. Yeah, you went into your kitchen and that's when it was like,
yeah. So basically, I was just walking around the kitchen, and suddenly, I wasn't thinking of anything. I wasn't like meditating or being holy in any way, you know. I was just walking in my kitchen, and suddenly, like, that's it. Like everything was just incredibly alive with the same with the same living aliveness, with the same light, with that same, it was just really this highly intelligent, love, blissful beingness that pervaded absolutely everything. And I was that, you know? And it was very obvious that everyone was that. And that it's not just in people or in plants or in animals, it goes through the walls, it goes through the ground, it's in the air, it's like it's absolutely everywhere. Yeah, and that is the reality, you know. And then it felt like, and you come in too.
oh my god, they're like, we want to be part of the podcast. Thank you.
They really love when I talk about this. They love spiritual conversations.
Yeah, just like
They
you're literally flocking.
they
Yeah.
tend to be drawn to that conversation a lot. Yeah. Um. Yeah, but basically, yeah, it was just like it was just the sort of memory you have when. Well, memory is not the right word. It's like you know. Oh, there's something else clinging now, but that's not me now, is it?
Well, it's probably me. I never do it on my laptop. It's pinging away.
Oh, having a pingy.
We're getting animals and pings and downloads and everything this morning. What a morning! What a morning!
Yeah,
That
is
must
that?
have been weird. Like not weird, but like when you say like everything is one, and I do believe that, but I have never visually seen it. Do you know? I've never had this experience where they say, it's literally you can see that everything is connected. And
Yeah,
for you before not having that, then having the spiritual, like the guy looking through your soul and giving you this download, and then all of a sudden just walking into your kitchen and being like, whoa, like that, like, wait a minute, I've been sleeping this whole time and now you can see things from a whole. It's like if I would just put on a pair of, glasses or something that makes you see things differently. Like,
Yeah. But it almost feels like it's the opposite way around. It's like we're putting glasses on, that make it look separate. But actually, once all of it was more like it all falls off. When everything you presume about life and about who you are falls off you, then this is what there is gonna be. And I was basically also very interesting. That was very me. I instantly had to like move and speak what I was experiencing. So I was literally walking around. I can't, obviously, there's no recording of this. This was a bit spontaneous
yeah.
plan. So I have no idea what I said at the time, but I instantly had to like give words to that reality and move my body to it instantly. That was my instant response. And then basically I over the all the years after, I've learned about how to gradually align all of the body to that more and more and more. Because there was a phase after that where I was feeling I need everyone needs to know, this is
Yeah, yeah. Now,
like
now look what I see. Yeah, wake up, wake up.
open, and
I know this newfound knowledge, like shaking everybody. Look what I can see. Yeah, but it would be.
performances. I started to do these improvised performances, where I was attempting to create creative expressions that draw people into that, right? And then eventually realized that parts of my old identity were creeping back in, and they were trying to take over and they were trying to pretend they were it. And then I had a phase where I also felt quite enlightened and arrogant, and like I was like now whatever. I was now amazing and perfect, and no, you were not, So luckily I was not known, and I couldn't cause any damage by creating a cult or something, But it became very much more interesting, the journey over the years, because I started to realize the oneness isn't just the love, bliss, light. The oneness is there is also oneness in the dark stuff, bizarrely. There is really, when you start to, because I've been really, here comes my philosophical side. I've
Yes,
been
love.
really admiring in depth into what is separation, how does it come about, where does it start? Because sometimes I used to have really intense triggers to things, that came from ancestral
Mm-hmm.
ancestral memories, that the ones that live in your body that you don't even know where they come
Yes.
from, and they created like huge reactions to like tiny situations. In theory it's a tiny situation, but you feel like you're being stabbed, or you feel like you're being burned alive, or you feel like but someone just says something and you suddenly feel like this, and then you react like in ways that you don't really want to react, because a part of you is trying to protect you from some massive imminent danger that isn't actually there in that situation, but that can still cause a lot of damage in your personal life, right? So I've been learning more and more about that. How do I inquire backwards into those, so I can stop it at the root, so I can basically first find what the memory is that's actually causing this reaction, and how can that then be resolved, and
Yeah,
how
transmuted.
can that, yeah, how can I learn to feel it that first in the body, because it always starts in the body first, right? And then if I'm not connected enough to my body, then I miss that, and then I react outwardly. But if I can feel the what happening in your body, then I can just go, oh, I'm just feeling like I'm being stabbed. That's so interesting. Where's that coming from? Why is that? And then I
Yeah,
can go
start
like,
asking the questions. Why is that happening? Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I've been basically developing over time more and more understanding of how how to invoke that reality of no separations through the body, and with spoken word and with movement. And that's what I teach now. I teach people how to align language to that reality, and then how to bring it into the physical body and make your whole body an invocation of that reality, right? And so that light is being invited into the body, and it's on its own terms, in its own intelligence, trusting that just that practice is gonna allow your life to be aligned to that reality, right? More and more. And then that practice necessarily brings up all this stuff that's like not so easy to deal with.
That's all there, buried. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's why I keep developing ways to understand those from that place of reality, ideally, so you can still have this understanding of there's still this love, bliss, light is still there, even if I'm going through hell right now. And even if it feels like I will never get out of that again. That's so dark, because these things are meant to feel like this, we are meant to feel it in that way. But if you still know that the light is still there, even if you can't feel it right now, the more confident, the more we understand that, and the more sure we are of that, the more confident we can be to explore the really tough bits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's through the movement as well, because, it's almost like somatic kind of movements and things are really, known now. For some people now we're hearing more and more about this, but it's just movement, isn't it? It's movement and alignment. And when you start moving in general, or you start dancing, you feel a release and you feel joy, and you can just kind of link to your body and where it wants to go. And that must just give it that, because it's like, is it trying to get the disconnect between your mind being the driver and the overthinker, and kind of sinking into your body and your feelings, I suppose, through flowing.
Yeah. You said that beautifully, and it's very interesting because we tend to have those bits separate, don't we? We tend to either think and go problem-solving, decision-making all up here, and then we go dancing, and then that's like a completely disconnected from that, right?
Because you don't care. You're like,
all that,
Yeah.
But in truth, this is all connected. We have it, it is connected. You can see.
The head's on the shoulders.
So and it is very interesting. When I work with people one-to-one, I often experience how people have created a disconnect between that part of them and that logical thinking and that decision making and all that, and their body, and how both communicate with me. And the most fascinating is when someone says things like, "Oh, I can't just be one with everything," and I was like, I'm not seeing that. I can see that you can,
Your body's telling me something different,
I've seen that a lot, where people are just still believing they can't do it, but their body really wants to. Like their body just goes,
expressing.
Breathe this. Let me just look. Of course I can. I know how this goes.
Well, that's interesting, because you're picking up that's something you've had to do, but with the way that you're taking people through this connection, is you're having to really study body language in a way as well, like tapping into that, so you can see that there's a disconnect, and you've actually looking at their expression through their body language and their movement.
Yeah, I've learned to see a lot, which I didn't know that you can even see. People are sometimes surprised, that, I have when I did my degree show, I was telling people to think specific thoughts while they were dancing. And then I would watch them do their dance, and then I would suddenly go, "Liam, you forgot to think your thought." How do you know?
How do you know? Like I can tell by the way you're moving.
I can see it in your body. You're not thinking it. It shows in your body when you're thinking it.
That's
You know?
interesting. So what would you tell them? Like what would you tell them to think of? Like
Oh,
just
that was a particular dance, which was where this was actually a long time ago, so I must have had some of these skills before.
yeah.
They improved over time. They have defined more over time. Um, but this was a dance with someone. It was in my degree show where someone was playing a cube. Yeah, so this really sort of rigid. I have this. I often play with this terminology of being in a box or believing to be a box, or So he was a cube, and then there was a woman who was the fire, who was burning the cube, and he was supposed to. She was supposed to. I can't even remember what his thought was now, but her thought was, "I'm burning the. I'm burning the cube. I'm burning." While his thought was, "I'm happy anyway," or whatever. Like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm just. I don't.
Yeah,
I don't
just yeah.
I'm just a box. I'm just a box. Something like this. I can't remember exactly what he was thinking.
But something totally different.
His thought, and he was surprised that I could tell.
That's amazing. But it's so fascinating. It's so interesting because when you do look at somebody, I suppose you can, if you're really looking or you're really observing, you can really see if their body, if their thoughts are aligning, if they're basically aligning with each other, or if there's a resistance here and there. So that's really interesting. I love that it's through the flow of movement. And so with them, I want to ask as well, because you told me an amazing thing, because you had said you've got, while you were foraging, when you were out, you came across a guy who was basically taking was it like videography that he was doing? Like, yeah, so you were just out. Tell me about that. When you told me, I was like, that's so cool. What were you doing when you were out? Were you getting certain things or what? It just approached you?
It was actually quite funny because it's something that I notice in my life a lot also, when I put a certain question out, like I need something, like I need good footage for, now I just wanted to really improve my social media, and I go like, I need some good stuff, I need some film stuff that really works, and I start putting these things out, and then I went foraging, as I do, like we've got lovely bits of nature around here, and there was this guy standing in this little stream with really exciting camera equipment. And so I tend to like striking off interesting conversations with strangers, that meet and walk. It's always inspiring. So I go like, oh, what are you doing here? That looks exciting, And then he was telling me that he was basically doing a film for an MA Masters in Wildlife Filming. And he wanted to not just film the nature in that particular area, because it's interesting because it is in the middle of Bristol, so it is in the city, but it is this stream that obviously by the side of it no one could build. So it has this ancient bit of forestry around it, and it's just really like it's left, it has this. I get this thing about land, when it feels spirited or not. When humans mess too much with it, it just stops feeling spirited. It's just a piece of land. But this piece of land feels really ancient and has this really rejuvenating feeling to it in the energy it has. So he's making a film about that, and he's been managing to film like otters, with like wildlife cameras, which is literally
Amazing.
Bristol, there's literally otters there.
That's beautiful. I never knew that. Wow.
And because he wanted to include people in it, he asked me if I wanted to be in it, because I was just standing there with a bunch of wild garlic.
Yeah.
One who forages there was just interesting. So he was filming me, and it was really nice because he also made like a long interview with me, so I was able to talk about my work. And now I have loads of lovely footage that I can make beautiful clips from for social media, and I'm really grateful for that. And it's also so interesting how he just showed up.
Yeah.
When just going like, I could do with this, I could do with something, I don't know what, in which shape, but
And he just showed up with his camera ready to capture it. Because I seen some of the footage on your on your Instagram, and I was like, "That's beautiful. That's amazing. Like that just came together." You know.
yeah, and I find it just so much easier to speak with someone still. I'm still not really keen on how I speak to myself. It always looks a bit fake. When I go like, yeah, I am doing embodiment.
Better in conversation.
I just don't buy it of myself when I do it like.
Well, it was a great bit of content. And I remember you just saying, "Oh, I need to try and sort my social media. I've got the website and everything on it." But then it was like, then you were like, this guy had just, for a film, and I was like, "Wow, that's amazing! Like, how did that come about?" And it's great that you've been putting out the signals, and then this guy's just taking videos of natures, and it was beautiful. It's a great bit of content. It was brilliant.
Yeah, and it's also because when I started on Instagram, I was really hopeful, that it would all spread really easily, but I just found that it just didn't, and I wasn't really good at keeping up with it at all, and I kind of just gave up, and then also, but it's funny how it's always parallel, isn't it? Because I also had like a time in my life where I was caring for my mom, where I had lots of doubts about my work, I wasn't sure how to actually teach embodiment as the one had, so that it works really well for people and that it also is really safe for people. Because I realized that it basically is so much more powerful than I was expecting. Which can mean that people can actually have massive shifts because of that practice happening. And it can also mean that certain self-protection may come up in them in reaction to those shifts that they may not even know they're having, or that they may not have a conscious understanding of. So I was really going like, whoa, do I have the right training? Do I need more training? How do I teach it? But the problem is that it's not, I can't have a certified, can't be certified in this because there isn't any body that, I'll have to create that body that certifies.
Yeah.
Embodiment on hard teachers, but I'm always very keen to learn from other people's approaches, and there's loads of new things out at the moment, so I'm always learning more about how to prepare people
Yes.
for what could happen, so that they're not then suddenly just drifting off to something that's hard to deal with. And yeah, so I've just recently developed, because I've developed a whole course called the foundation course, and it's a very big process that people really can be years with, to be honest, because like with every single bit in it, you could spend a long time with it and learn from it and get insights. So because this is such a complex process, I decided to design a 5-week introductory course because I felt it's really necessary for people to do that first, because that way I can give them the essence of every module. It has 4 modules and one integration session. So they know exactly what they are embarking on if they're doing this properly. So they need to know exactly how the ancestral stuff can come up and how that can feel really overwhelming. And so I'm hoping to be able to teach this in a way that people have the tools before that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense, because if
Yeah.
something comes up because I suppose when somebody's going into something like this, they're open to learn and they're open to change, but they're not knowing that things can come up and, throw them. Yeah.
I did with myself. I was very much wanting to believe that I'm done. my ancestral trauma now because this has happened and this, and I would love to talk myself into it, and then suddenly there's a huge other thing coming that I had no idea, that that it was. It's again, it's the same like when you realize that blissful oneness, you do know in hindsight that it was there, but you haven't had the conscious awareness of it at all, until you find it. And then when you find it, you suddenly go, oh wow, this is why I believe this, or this is why I have this aversion. Why would you have certain aversions to things that you have no reason to have in, right? Unless you find those ancestral patterns. Yeah. So with the 5-week introductory course, I'm now feeling really confident that that's the next step. And this is why I'm looking for new people who want to join it and do it. And then when I have enough people who've done that, who are interested to embark on the deeper level one, then we'll figure out what format is best to do it, where everyone thrives best. But I find it better to develop these as I go along instead of deciding.
So instead of being quite rigid, it's nice to move and flow with how you're feeling called to do that.
Yeah, and what works for people, and what is too much, and what is too little, and all these type of things.
And do you find that you have to adjust it for different people, because everybody's going to have different things coming up? So do you feel like with your work, you have to really start like really adjusting and thinking, right, okay, this worked for that person, but it's not working for them, so I'm going to have to readjust this? And yeah, that must be quite hard work for you, energetically as well, because you're really having to look at that person and what's coming up, which is which could be quite a bit.
Yeah, so one thing I've been learning about, like when I do one-to-one sessions with people, I don't have a plan at all. I have no plan. I listen to that person, I feel that person, I sense that person, I watch that person, and then I usually just get some very unique idea for that person or that moment in time, and it just comes effortlessly. So there is this really organic process, and I've seen some people needed to get up and move and speak, while other people, I was just like, you know what, I think you just need to really lean back into that chair, but really lean back, really,
Yeah, like relax, like yeah,
and then
let it fold into you.
I want to suddenly do a meditation with them about how they and the chair are one, and then they just like, for them that was what worked, in that. So I don't actually have like a fixed methodology in that way. So there's obviously things I've tried before and that may come up again and that I might do again. Yeah, but it's not like that I take people through a fixed process. Even when I teach the 5-week course, I take people through the subheadings of every module, and then I ask them what interests you the most about those. What do you want to know about? And then of course I make sure that I say the things that I feel they're really important for them to know, but I'm also going with where are they in that moment, and what is most effective for that particular person or that particular group. So there's always an organic component to my work, even if it has the structure.
Yeah, which is lovely because it's more intuitive and in tune with what that person needs or how the groups flowing, which is lovely because yeah, you're again using the ability that you've found with your learnings to read if somebody's connected, what they're needing, and really tuning into them. And I love that you said, you just need to lean back and I'm just going to give you a meditation. And then it worked, because then it's like you're seeing what that person really needs in that moment, which I think's an amazing tool to have.
Yeah. And also embodiment, as Onhard teaches us, that it teaches us to go into that creativity through one life, and that is the creativity that unleashes through that is absolutely phenomenal. It is always way beyond what I could have imagined to create. Yeah, it's always like, it goes like, whoa, it's just amazing. It just has so much more aliveness than anything I could just do like on my own like that. When I go like, oh, I'm just want to make some art, right? And because that is what we are learning in embodiment as the one heart. So that process of creative openness to go places that we don't know yet. That's exactly what that what I want people to do by themselves also. At home. That I'm gonna go there now. I haven't been there yet. I'm curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's that creativity in the process and the way,
Yeah.
because some people say, and you probably heard it yourself, some people will say, oh, I'm not creative. I'm not the creative type. And you think, I don't know about you, but I always think, well, everybody's creative in some way. Everybody does have that creative ability within them, to be creative. Doesn't matter what it is, but everybody does have that, and just tuning into that, like I said, getting out of the loudness and into the creativity.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that everyone has their creative genius somewhere. There's no way that you can be born without it. I believe it's possible. It can be trained out of you, but I haven't met any person yet.
That's not.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
It's
that's so exciting. And you're not a herbalist? Are you a herbalist? No, but you use a lot of, what is it, like just herbal remedies and things, because what I'd said about touching on the onion on my chest. So because when we spoke last week, we were just having a chat, and I've still got a little bit of cough. It just keeps coming and going, but it was chesty. I had this right chest, kind of chesty cough. And you had said about an onion, and I was like, do you know, I remember the doctor saying to my little sister when she was really young, when my mum done it, and it was the onion in a cloth and put on her ear to help with the ear infection. And I was like, and it brought me straight back to when I was younger when you told me that. So it's really interesting that you use that. Do you use that for, like, do you use different things for?
Yeah, so when I started to get into foraging and started to realize how nice wild food tastes, when it's not cultivated, wild leaves and wild plants seem to have just something that the cultivated, even the best organic food doesn't seem to have that. It's just something about how they just haven't been tempered with, a bit like this old spirited wood, there's just something in their nutritiousness and vitality that seems to just be superior over most foods. So I got more and more into it, and I got more and more into creating recipes, and then more and more into like collecting herbal teas, or healing with herbs, healing with natural ways has always been something I've been interested in. So I always look around more for more information, but I'm not trained in anything in that way.
Yeah,
I teach myself, and I learn from. There's so many exciting herbal people on Instagram that you can follow, and I always find out something new about a plant that I thought is a weed, and oh, I've got loads of that. You can clean your teeth with it.
that's fantastic though.
You can make like you can make soap from ivy. I make soap from ivy. I have it in my garden, and I clean my bathroom with it.
Really?
Works really well. And I've become like more and more anti-consumer, over the
Mm-hmm.
years. I got like more and more annoyed by this like constant use of power to
Consuming.
constantly want to consume and buy and this and that. And I've gone like the other way. I'm like, what do I not need to buy? What can I make
Yeah,
myself?
what can I forage and use? Yeah.
These days I can make my shampoo. I'm not great with shampoo yet. My hair's still a bit wild. I'm trying different natural things. I'm still not completely convinced it's ideal, but I just got more and more like that. I put like natural things in the bath. I clean my teeth with natural things. You don't need to buy all this stuff. So, and I understand more and more about herbs, so I can often help people now when there is something, and say, hey, why didn't you try this or
Yeah,
that?
because you've got that knowledge just through
Yeah.
intrigue for the things that you can use around you. See, that does intrigue me. It really does. I've never. I must admit it, I've never tried anything just totally natural. I've always been, I'll just go, purchase it or whatever if it says organic or it says natural. But it really interests me that something like that you could, start doing just really small things and start using it. And then you'd probably be like, yeah, I need to start doing this all the time. This is so much better, like the smell or the taste or something. I think it's
Yeah,
fabulous.
yeah, exactly. It becomes hard to go back to other things once you're doing it like that. I've also I have really sensitive teeth because I was like raised on sugar as a child basically, so I had loads of dental work, and I came at some point to the conclusion that if I want to have any teeth by the time I'm 50, I need to stop eating sugar. So I stopped eating sugar, and I usually have a good sense if my teeth are, if they're okay. If so, my
Yeah,
diet
just
is
imbalance.
really good, and I have to be sensitive about it. But at some point, they suddenly started to get decay, and I was like, why? What is it? And then I'm pretty. I obviously can't prove it, but I have the feeling it was some of the preservatives in the hummus I bought, and so now I'm like, I've gotten really strict because now I eat nothing with any preservatives, nothing with anything artificial at all. And I find that my general health has certainly benefited from that.
From doing that.
Yeah.
And is that quite a hard process to switch from? Like have you found that quite hard in general when you do go out to supermarkets and things like that? Is that quite hard or is that quite easy?
Well, in every supermarket, there's 10 things I buy.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just not looking at it. But it is, it's only been actually to my advantage because, for instance, hummus, I found a version of chickpeas that has nothing in it apart from water and salt. That's it. There's nothing in it, and they're organic. And I make those into my own hummus, and it's so tasty. It's so nice. It's cheaper than buying it. You know,
mm-hmm.
you don't have all this plastic packaging to deal with. You have a much better, healthier product. It takes 5 minutes to whiz it up. When you buy them in a jar like this, and you
Yeah,
don't have the chickpeas and all of that. So it's definitely been to improvement of my lifestyle.
improvement doing that and switching over.
Yeah,
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 that's amazing because your body does tell you, doesn't it? Yeah, if you listen, your body tells you, I don't like that, or I don't like this. That's fantastic. And the last thing is you have you're going to be in the Start Over. You're in the book series. What volume are you in? Do you know?
I'm in volume 11.
Volume 11. Yeah, because you're working on that just now, which is
Yeah,
very exciting.
and it's been a really exciting process. The writing has been really exciting for me to have that because I have been wanting to write for ages, and I even started writing a book, but I didn't quite. My laptop died and my first chapter died.
Yeah, yeah. Wasn't happening, wasn't the right time.
When I came across the Start Over movement, I was like, wow, this is like incredible, and it's so on my wavelengths that there is people from all sorts of ways of life with all sorts of incredible stories, completely diverse, completely unique, every single one of them, and how we're coming together, as one in some
Yeah,
way, right? We're coming
yeah.
together as one in that sharing and in that depth of consideration of our lives, and in that that human struggle. I find it so interesting because in some way the human struggle is so similar in all of us. It just has a different
Mm-hmm.
version.
Yeah,
It's just, I think
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
we're one in this, and I found it so encouraging because I've always been quite nervous to write my story because I feel like I'm such a weirdo and
Sorry.
you want to read my story.
Unique. Unique. You think of your language, my dear. Beautiful. You're unique.
That's what Marco says. But in the last reading, he was basically saying, Eva, your story is just so unique.
Yeah.
That was exactly his words. I'm so grateful, to feel, to be in a space where there is this huge openness to whatever your story is. And it really encourages me to go into my stuff really openly, really courageously, and write it down, and this is, again, this is like a principle of embodiment as one heart, because you need that. If you have that, an embracing container that holds space for you,
Mm-hmm. To do that.
non-judgmental, open way, then it allows you to go into this exploration in a completely different way than if I would have just gone on my own trying to write. I don't think I could have done it, to be
Like
honest.
pulled that, being able to pull that fully from yourself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
It
think
would
it's because of the support, isn't it? And the support's really, the support is, it's something that's needed as a support when you're going through this, because you're pulling something out of yourself that you've never done before.
yes, and I find it also so incredibly powerful when, how do I describe this now? I just lost. I just had a really good thread on this, and now I just lost it. But there's something very specific that I love about this so much, but I can't find it right now.
I think if anything, it's maybe just with it being, probably like what you're saying, the oneness, because it's everybody's stories. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, no, I just got it again. It's like when we are no, gone. It's been some a very specific way of seeing something and sharing it that I'm just getting a grasp on,
Yeah,
but I can't at the moment. I can't find the
can
words.
verbally get it out.
Yeah,
Need to shake it out, you dance it
I
out.
think I know now. So when we because I feel we've been so suppressed in our world, in terms of how important our life story is, right? Because it's like it's not, society doesn't value life stories, or as a we always supposed to just like function in certain roles and do our best in them and then succeed in something and then pay our bills and then die, right? So that seems to be so overriding that our individual stories don't seem to have any significance. But really, what we need as a world and as one humanity is to listen to each other's stories, because that's how we begin to understand each other and how we begin to understand our psychology and why the world is in such a horrendously cruel mess at the moment. So I mean, especially, I would love to see stories being told, especially from two sides of one fence, whatever it is. Um, if it's like Palestine and Israel, or if it is vaccinated and unvaccinated, it's
Mm-hmm.
also because like once we really listen to our stories, we find our shared humanity,
Yeah,
and can't just hide into these patterns of, but in these abstractions of this is that type of group and that is that type of group and this is that, because there isn't no such type of group. Everyone has their individual story to every decision in their life and to every turn of where they are going
yeah,
and why. And the more we have these spaces where we open up to the real stories, I feel that is where humanity can also find peace with itself, and begin to heal from all its horrendous history.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad that that came to you, because that was beautiful. Like, I'm so glad that you were like, it's channeling, it's coming. I'm like, yes, that's it. You definitely gave that the justice it deserved. It was amazing. And it's so true. I love how you put that, because we are, everybody has stories that we suppress, because that's been the done thing to do. You know, behind closed doors, or we have stories, but just keep it as it is and just move through life. And now it's like we're trying to break the chains and break free from that and be like, no, like everybody's stories are important. And I love the both sides of the fence, because everybody's got different stories, different opinions, different stories, different outlooks, but it's so important. Love how you put that. I'm taking that away with me today. That was beautiful.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been a really, really beautiful conversation. I completely forgot we were on a podcast.
I know, this is great. That's why I'm always like, it's nice and relaxed, and yeah, it's just like having a open chat that other people will enjoy taking parts of that and learning something, because I think we all learn something from somebody else that we meet in life. There's never anybody that we don't meet and we don't say, I didn't learn anything about them, I didn't learn anything off them. My favourite saying when I see somebody and they say something and I'm like, oh, I never knew that. I always say, oh, every day's a school day, because I'm learning more now in my adulthood than what I've ever done when I was a child. So everybody's your teacher if you're ready to listen.
Totally. I so resonate with that. I'm always learning. Every day I'm learning.
Yeah, and about myself too. That's a never-ending process. But thank you so much for coming on today. I've absolutely loved having you as a guest. What a lovely conversation, and I'll be able to put your website onto the podcast for anybody wanting to reach out to you as well.
Yes, and anyone can reach out to me anytime. I also offer like free question calls. If someone wants to connect with me, who wants to consider doing the course, the 5-week course, then I'm always open for people to come and chat to me first and ask questions, because it's really important to have that real connection.
Brilliant. Oh, great. Well, I'll attach that when I'm sharing the podcast next week. I'll get that attached and put that out there for everybody. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on today, and have an amazing day. And I love that the birds came as well.
Appreciate this lovely conversation. Thank you for having me, Michelle. So
Oh,
lovely.
you're so welcome.
Through the Start Over.
What was that? Sorry?
So lovely to meet you through the Start Over movement.
Oh,
Really.
yes, same. I know, it was lovely to connect, and I'm so glad that you came on here. It's been beautiful. But thank you so much, and have a beautiful day. Thank you so much, Eva.
Yeah,
Take care. Bye.